Welcome back, Freightwaves fans. I'm excited today because a lot of news, especially in the AI space, has been hitting Twitter and all over, honestly, the freight tech universe when it comes to social media. So, we are really excited today to be talking with Ryan Petersen from Flexport on the recent announcement of over 20 different features that they've added. And we'll get into a lot more because as we all know, Ryan, he types fast and he speaks louder. So we've got I think a lot of fun topics to get into in regards to what, of course, Flexport is helping with their customers. But Ryan, I want to dive right into this with you. I mean, this week, right, you released over 20 plus products for your customers, which we're used to, especially over here, maybe hearing about a release or two throughout the year, but to see this huge release all at one time, what motivated you to do that, and why now?
I think I told someone else this recently. Brian Chesky told me you should package all your stuff up. The CEO of Airbnb. I was fortunate to spend some time with him, and he's like, it really drives a lot more. It does three things, and he told me this, and it turned out to be absolutely true. One was there's nothing like the power of a deadline to make people work really hard. It's actually really re-excited Flexport's tech team to build stuff for our customers. They hear a lot from employees and operators. Hey, I need you to automate this process, or I don't like doing this work. Can you build it? They don't hear nearly enough from the customer. And if you want to get into this tech release, you need to build some stuff that helps our customers. So it really changed the tone there, set deadlines where they work really hard. It forced our marketing team to spend a lot more time with the tech team than they have in the past to help them package that, tell the story about it, and get really good teamwork, collaboration. And then, yeah, it did create a moment of for us to kind of put a drop a bit of a bomb into the supply chain world and create kind of this feeling of like, oh wow, there's a lot happening at Flexport right now. So yeah, I recommend it to really anybody who's building technology. Try to package your stuff up and get a little bit more momentum behind it.
It's funny you bring up, like, the deadline aspect because, in prior to being at Freightwaves, working with tech companies and providers, you always kinda hear this mumble in the background of, "Yeah, that's, something we're working on or something we're adding," but, like, when is that actually gonna come to fruition? So I'm happy to see that you found a creative and I think really strong way to motivate the team and release this out for customers as well, and, I'd love to talk about the products in general. We've got 20 plus products, but they seem to be in certain areas in particular. Can you highlight some of your favorite parts of this release and how they're helping your customers?
So a few of them are like pretty big and would have been newsworthy regardless of whether we did this big release or so. And so like the most obvious, for me, the highlight of the whole thing was our AI reporting. So it's natural language. You just type, ask questions, and we generate reports, both lists of matching shipments, data that comes out in list form that you can download and put into whatever other format you want, but also graphs, charts. It's super easy to use. Like, it's just natural language. You just type in plain English and get what you're looking for. That would have gotten buzz no matter what. It's really kind of game changing. You can drag and drop and create a dashboard. Ultimately, what it's doing is building SQL queries so that the graphs will persist and keep updating themselves. So you save that chart and now it's in a dashboard forevermore. You're getting that data out of your supply chain. So that was the headline in my view. Some of the stuff that we built was kind of small and like no one's going to really pay that much attention to like, oh, we built a better NetSuite connector or some other stuff that is really important but doesn't get time and place. So putting it into a kind of a launch format helps there. But the headline was definitely the AI reporting. Another big one is our control tower platform. So this is what we call it, control tower, but it's another way to think about it is you can now use Flexport's single pane of glass managed logistics control tower. You can use our technology even if someone else is moving the freight. Has been like the most requested thing for customers for since the beginning. It's like, I love your tech, but like I want to keep my freight provider or I want to have multiple freight providers. I'll give some to Flexport, but I kind of procurement wise, only some companies really trust to go all in with one freight provider. A lot of people, as a rule, have to have multiple. Um, and your data, frankly, is less valuable if it's only on one third of your shipments. Like having the best quality data and reports that don't cover everything comes up short. So we launched it now. You can use Flexport as a platform, place purchase orders to your factories. We will optimize the loading plans for those POs to minimize the number of containers you have to ship or minimize the amount of air freight shipments. And then place the booking. It can go with Flexport, it can go with an ocean carrier or another freight forwarder. So that's called Control Tower. That's another big headline launch. And then a bunch of stuff that was launched is for our fulfillment business. So we acquired Shopify Logistics and have been investing like crazy in upgrading the quality, making that first party. And we launched a few things to help companies grow faster. So drop shipping, we can now sell, our customers can sell on over 50 different marketplaces and retail sites, and will fulfill and comply with all their requirements. We launched international parcel shipping, so you can fulfill orders to over 200 customers for individual parcel orders. And then a long list. I mean, I encourage people, please go, if any of this sounds interesting, go check it out. We did there's a release page. You go to flexport.com, you'll see it at the top. There's a link to watch some short demos and get inspired. I'm super inspired by our tech team. They work their butts off. And some people ask, like, hey, are you going to stop shipping? You only ship every 6 months. The reality is, some of these things are kind of soft launched recently. A lot of them were out with beta customers. A lot of them we finished over the weekend. Like, people are grinding that power of a deadline. Everyone knows that went to college. Like, probably did most of your homework the night before it was due.
I want to touch on the control tower aspect because I think that's really interesting just from an innovative sense, to build a product that can help, of course, the customer, and regardless of who they're moving with, whether it's you or someone else. I I don't see tech innovators making so much of that risk in building something like that. Why is that important to Flexport? And do you think that kind of like partnership or even maybe just like you said, you admitting, right, that we need data from every piece of your logistics to actually make this technology make sense. Why is Flexport doing this first, and do you see other parts in the industry starting to catch on to that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of companies actually. There's no great. In fact, I haven't seen a good even TMS for global international shipments. I think there's a lot of TMSs that companies use for domestic that are probably pretty good. But on a global basis, no one's really built that managed, and my hypothesis for that is it's much better as a managed service that someone's gonna make sure that this runs well. If it's just pure tech, it's kinda garbage in, garbage out. It's too important that if the tech doesn't work, you can't just not have the shipment arrive, or you can't not clear customs on with the right data and be non-compliant. So, it's much better as a managed service and therefore much better delivered by a freight forwarder. It's a little counterintuitive because some people think, "Oh, I need the platform to be neutral," and there's some benefits to that, but ultimately, you don't really want it to be neutral because when things don't work, you need someone who's gonna step in and make it work. So we see this, like, the main use case today, the main people who are using Control Tower are using it to manage ocean freight contracts. So they sign carrier direct contracts. Larger companies wanna sign directly with the ocean carrier. Um, but they need someone to, on the day of the container being ready, place that booking with the carrier on the right sailing that's optimized for deriving on time, clearing the customs, organizing the trucking on both sides, like getting everything lined up. And if the carrier itself fails, you pretty high rejection rate, around 10% or so, where the carriers are rejecting the bookings. And it can be much higher when space is really tight, like we saw with the Red Sea last year. Um, if the carrier rejects the booking and then it goes to a second carrier and then a third carrier, sort of this routing guide. But eventually, if all the carriers are rejecting the booking, you don't really want this neutral platform that goes, like you want a hands-on managed service partner. And so that's what Flexport, the benefit, I think, far outweighs the risk of being, not neutral. Like, we're actively here on your side. I wouldn't say we're neutral. We're on your side to try to make sure your stuff gets moved and stuff. So, um, but it's hard. It's very hard for a technology only company. Like, if you look at some of the demos and just get to know our products, there's so much nuance and complexity and complicated case. Like, it's really detailed and nuanced that I think a pure software company just struggles to get to be born in it like we are. Like, we're in the freight forwarding transactions. We know what matters and what doesn't matter and can build the right tech.
Well, I'm sure customers appreciate that acknowledgement. And I was recently watching an interview you did, and you said that your goal is for logistics to go from this cost center to a growth center for companies. Could you elaborate on what that means for customers and what that means for even the future of Flexport products as well?
For us, what that really means is about boosting your in-stock. The percentage of the time that when you get an order from a customer, you have it in stock and can meet that demand, meet that customer need, sell the product. That can be fast shipping. So our fulfillment business offers 2-day shipping to most of the US population. In fact, huge percent of the US population, you get 2-day shipping while paying for standard ground because we have fulfillment centers distributed. That boosts conversion rate, helps you grow. Our marketing team likes to say that fast shipping can increase conversion rate by 25%, where a Super Bowl ad is shown only to increase by 5%. So you're 5 times more effective than a Super Bowl ad. I don't know if that's true, but our marketing team loves that tagline. I like to see it. I'm sure it's by customer and, specific to the product, et cetera. But so it's that. It's also helping people add new channels. I mentioned drop shipping, new geographies. We want to make it so it's, hey, we love my dream pitch, or as we continue on down our road on our vision is to go to a customer and be like, I love your brand. I love your products. Why aren't you selling it on Coupang in South Korea and in Mercado Libre in South America? Didn't you know like Flexport makes that easy? We're not doing a lot of that yet. We are global. We can help you ship products anywhere, but we want to make that like really one click is just deploy inventory to these markets. Today, if you want to sell through those things, to those markets, to customers in those markets, we're shipping it one parcel at a time from the US, or you have to have your own fulfillment provider and we'll deliver cargo to them. But long term, certainly vision wise, being a growth engine, that still cost center matters. Cost is the main thing in logistics. It always will be. We got to keep driving down our costs. Quality costs less is one of our big mantras here. Doing things right the first time. Most cost inefficient in logistics come from mistakes. You mess up and you drive inefficiency and it costs a lot to undo it. So quality costs less. I don't know. It'll be more fun too. I think you get to have more strategic conversations when you're helping companies grow their revenue. Your procurement, the customer's procurement team is not the friendliest group within the customer. Like there's usually like nice people in marketing or something. I'd rather hang out with. No, I'm just kidding. I love our customers.
You said it, yeah. No. Well, to your marketing team's point, though, I will say as a online shopper or just a consumer in general, there's a lot of times where I'll buy a certain product from a brand or a place just because I can get my hands on it faster or because I know the way it's going to be fulfilled. Maybe it's pickup or something along those lines that I can use that at my convenience at a faster speed.
Definitely
So
Amazon's secret sauce is 2 things. It's like already having your payment info stored, so you click and it shows up, and it shows up. You know it's gonna get there pretty fast. That's a huge advantage that Amazon has. I think more and more, so many of Flexport has received major investment from Shopify. They put over $700 million into Flexport over the years. And Shopify is increasing that for me. When I buy, because I love buying our customers' products, is one of the things I do all the time. If we get a customer, I make sure I buy their product and support them. And if they're on Shopify, it's so easy. Shop Pay is like, it feels like Amazon checkout. Once you buy it once, it's there forever. So that's Shopify's like main flywheel, I would say. Apart from just having good software for checkout, that payments. Um, but we want to make it so you also know not only is it easy to pay, but stuff shows up really fast. So yeah. And we have a couple of customers where they started out with this brand promise of paying for 2-day shipping, which is more expensive, but they built enough of a reputation in their reviews and as a company that they actually backed off paying for 2-day shipping, but they still get pretty fast service because they're using all 5 of our fulfillment centers. So even while paying for ground, a lot of customers in major markets are getting 2-day shipping from them, without having to pay for it. So yeah, I mean, it definitely leads to conversions and brand building.
love that. I want to talk about innovation at Flexport because I get a wonderful opportunity to talk to founders in this space too, and many that come from the Flexport family at some point as well. And there's just incredible push to drive for a better tech future in this industry. How do you drive that at Flexport? You touched on it a little bit, right? Making these deadlines, I think part of it as well, but, it's just I think it's fascinating the people that I've spoke to who are there or have been there, that there's this real push for innovation. How do you push that through Flexport?
It's, well, we got great people. and hire awesome, convince show people that this industry is actually fascinating and like a little bit under the radar for normal people, but once you get in it, super addictive, working in supply chains, a backstage pass to the world economy, and just a fascinating place to build a career. So much cool like, we have an insight on every news story more than ever now, right? Like, I don't know when you're gonna air this one, but just earlier today, Trump introduced another 10% tariff on China, and so like, showing people a sense of not just is it cool and a great place to learn and be part of the world, but it's also, really important to the world economy. Your work matters. It's easy to see stuff, like, it's not SaaS. You can see the ships and the planes, and they're cool, and you can then see the customer's products, in the store and wear them and use them and be part of that. So I think people wanna have impact. People wanna, it's global. So I think that's the first thing is, like, show awesome people that this is a great thing, give them a sense of purpose. We've gotten much better last couple years, last year especially, at really providing a sense of focus. Very hard to execute when you tr we one of our problems historically has been doing too many things, spread ourselves out. Flexport's a very ambitious company. We ship everything from factory floor all the way to customers' houses and retail stores and by every mode of transport. So it's a lot. The more we can really get people to focus in and get more teams focused on fewer goals has been a key aspect of velocity. Having good decision making structure, like it doesn't. So much of the innovation is not coming from my ideas. It's coming from customers. It's coming from people themselves. So trying to break down some bureaucracy is hard. I'm allergic to bureaucracy, and hating bureaucracy does not stop bureaucracy from showing up in your company. You have to also have good frameworks for making decisions and empowering people and encouraging risk and stuff. So yeah, but it's hard. I'm very happy with the last 6 months. If you look at what we built, what we launched this week, all that was built in the last almost everything you see was built in the last 6 months. The velocity is really, really good. There have been times in Flexport's history where I didn't feel that and I felt frustrated. Right now, I'm feeling momentum. Some of that's because of new AI, the ability to work with AI or whether it's OpenAI or Anthropic, Ru- Gemini, Llama, we're open to all commerce and we're waiting to start working with Grok when we get access to the APIs. So people want to work with the latest tech and then apply it and have impact.
Definitely. We'll get back to the AI in a second, but I want to touch on something you did. One could say bureaucracy, regulation as well. We're dealing with a really interesting administration, right? Currently, a lot of changes in global trade regulation, in particular, like you said, a possible another 10% of the EU. We've talked about that 25% as well here at Freightwaves. How does that affect your work at Flexport? Being a part of this freight forwarding atmosphere and also trying to drive innovation. Is some of that innovation behind this like uncertainty that shippers and are dealing with when it comes to suppliers?
It's massively impactful the in our mission. We want to make global trade easy, and so these things are sort of antithetic. Tariffs are we were no not we are anti-tariff as a company. We're proud to say like we want there to be no barriers for our customers to do global trade. Um, so, but the more barriers that are thrown up, the more important our work becomes. And so, customs brokerage is where we started. Actually, not a lot of people know that. They think we started in freight forwarding, but we started as a customs broker and expanded into freight forwarding. Still think it's the crown jewels of our business. Customs is all about compliance, and therefore and it's all about data, and therefore it's about expertise and databases and technology. So we have awesome expertise. What we try to do is build Iron Man suits for our people. We hired some of the best people in the customs industry working for us, years and years of experience, but then build technology for them. I also think we're really good. We pride ourselves on the ability to adapt quickly to what's happening in the world. And we've built some pretty good rhythms over the years. It's been a chaotic decade in supply chains. We've built really good rhythms to observe what's happening in the world, get that into the hands of the right decision makers across our company, cross functionally, make decisions, be decisive, take action, and then watch the results of that action. And we call that a OODA loop and observe, orient, decide, act. So we're pretty good at that. I mean, we can always keep getting better, but we feel, for example, when new duties roll out, we pride ourselves to be the first to notify customers, here's exactly what's happening to your business. These are your HS codes that have been impacted. This is what it would have cost you. This is what we can project for you. We've got a great trade advisory team that helps people with duty drawbacks, uh, reapply, making sure you have the right classification for your products, helping people stay compliant. Um, so yeah, all these things, I mean, on some level, they help us because our mission becomes more important. Customers care more. For example, when the duties came out in the first week of the administration, we hosted a webinar. We do very frequent webinars on customs and probably need more and more of those. We had like 1,700 companies attend the webinar to try to find out, what's going on. So on some level, it's building our brand and helping us be more valuable for our customers, even though we hate it.
Yeah, but you're right though. It's almost created a even bigger educational reason to support them, right? And that I mean, even I think you tweeted yesterday about the customs refund that you had just helped out. I didn't even realize that was an issue out there. That these like refunds are sitting out there and people don't know, and even
Oh,
though it's
you got to talk to Dooner. He used to do duty drawback. He's obsessed with duty
that's
drawback.
yeah,
What
yeah.
the
Duder
fuck?
comes from that space, right? But
Um,
it
it's
is interesting, yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, a lot of people don't know. $6 billion goes unclaimed every year, of duties refunds that people are owed, and just in the U.S. And Lord knows what they're doing with the money. So you should go get your money back from the government, and we can help you do that. You can go back 5 years if you import something and later export it. You're owed a refund. There's lots of other programs that you may be eligible for. Looking at your past transactions, making sure you applied free trade agreements. There's all kinds of different things that our team can help you navigate. So, huge opportunity there and getting bigger and bigger every time they increase duties.
On that note too, and you gave a little bit, I guess, in that last answer, but you are, I think, very influential on Twitter, and I wouldn't be surprised if you, maybe Elon, if not the president's here already with your tweets too. But if you had a second to suggest improvement, right, for global trade, or from what you're hearing from shippers and any policy as well, what would you tell him and their administration to help improve some of the problems that you hear from shippers
Yeah, I
constantly?
mean, look, obviously, I got to speak on behalf of our customers. They don't like paying duties. No one's going to listen to me on that. Trump has his own strategies there and is using it as much, in my view, as much as a negotiating tool for other things he wants to get done, whether that's border security or protection of jobs in the U.S. I mean, it's as much about that as it is revenue collection. The so of course I'd advocate that, but no one's gonna listen to me. I think I would like to see them take a more pro tech stance at the ports. um, I know I don't criticize the union per se because they're doing their job. They should represent their workers and get a fair deal for them. But for no one's representing all the importers and exporters and consumers of the world. And when the ports are not well run or have high costs of labor, no automation, that hurts consumers. So it'd be good to have a voice at the table representing the consumer. Generally, what the industry wants, regardless of where the tariffs land, they wanna have more certainty. It's really difficult to plan right now. So the faster they can get through with their agenda, probably the better it is for companies of American companies too, and it's really hard to predict right now. I sort of I don't have any evidence for this, but I would predict there'll be tariffs on some other markets besides China, like Vietnam, like Cambodia, and today, brands are feeling like, "Hey, I moved my production out of China. I'm good. I produce in Vietnam." But that could change in one executive order in an instant, and so it's very hard to plan a supply chain when you don't have that kind of long-term view. So yeah, that'd be my other advice, I guess, is try to get through the backlog as quickly as you can so people can start to plan for what the new normal looks like.
That is interesting because I think a lot of companies have kind of done that China plus one strategy, right? And what happens when those plus one countries become a part of this as well?
Don't
And
take that to the bank. If you're out there planning your supply chain, I don't know any better than you do what's gonna happen. I'm not telling you I got inside info, but that's kind of my intuition is, hey, nothing's if Canada, Mexico, and the EU are subject to tariffs, like, why not other parts of Asia right now? So we'll see
yeah, I
how
think
it
that
plays
just
out.
goes into all of the uncertainty behind it. And on the tech note, let's get back into that a little bit, right? AI, big buzzword we're hearing everywhere. But it's being used, I think, in some really interesting ways. How do you see AI changing the landscape of freight tech in general in this industry moving forward?
I to be honest, I think every single member of your team should be using AI at least 10 to 20 times a day. All of you out there listening, you have the moment, the opportunity right now. It's a level playing field. Nobody's better at using AI than anybody else in terms of just prompting and using the tools that are out there. If they are, it's just because they learned in the last year, so they're learning faster than you. So shame on you. Make sure you're downloading, these apps. I suggest paying for the $20 a month for ChatGPT or another one. Gemini's free if you're a Google Apps user. So the stuff's incredible, and you're gonna get smarter, be curious, ask questions. So first off, it's just up level the talent and the productivity. Then add to that, yeah, the ability to go apply this. I It's a real interesting question. Who's going to be the winner in AI? It's so capital intensive at the compute level that it's open question. Is it worth, is the return on invested capital there for these foundational models and these hyperscalers that are producing AI? Open question. And probably the hyperscalers are selling shovels to the mine, so they'll probably do great. The foundational model is pretty competitive. I don't think it's a winner take all model. Certainly in the enterprise, people are going to want to have multiple vendors, but we as the industry are such beneficiaries because we're the customer, and these things are so competitive. It's almost free. So being applying this, getting and we feel at Flexport, of course, I'm selling my own book, but I feel really like we're in a beautiful position because we have the scale of a large freight company. We're the third largest American freight forwarder. So we have the scale, which comes with data to fine tune models and the domain expertise to figure out exactly how to apply it. We're end to end from factory all the way, which means we can just pick off use cases like anywhere in that chain. Doesn't have to be a whole business. Like we don't have to build a whole company around that. Just like apply it for this one little tiny thing. And then we have distribution, meaning we have thousands of customers. We're moving hundreds of thousands of shipments. So just if it works, it goes live the next day. People start using it. So I think, and now that's true of any large competitor of ours as well. So, but I like to believe, we're the only freight forwarder in the top 100 founded after the web browser was invented. So I think we got to, and then to say nothing of the cloud. So we got to feel like we have a technology team, culture, technology stack that's more innovative, more modern. That said, I'm also paranoid because someone else can make the claim, "Hey, we're the only freight forwarder founded after ChatGPT came out in November of 2022." So we got to be paranoid the same way they should be paranoid about us. We should be paranoid that are we the leaders in deploying, building AI? Um, we are paranoid, and we're working really hard. I don't think we have this huge advantage versus AI companies in terms of talent. There's a lot of the most of the AI talent in the world does not work at Flexport. So we want to work with the best AI models. We got to hire awesome people, but we have the opportunity to deploy it at scale. I think is pretty unique in across any industry. I think we're really well positioned for it.
Yeah, I think that the velocity that you spoke on, right, is probably gonna attract that, talent as well to the company, so I'm excited to see what you guys do, and maybe let's, wrap that there. Are there any sneak peeks at maybe of innovation coming down the pipeline that we should expect, especially if you're maybe sticking to the 6 months, scenario that
Yeah.
you're speaking on? What could we see in the next 6 months?
Well, we haven't fully locked what the summer release is going to be on. I think I'm letting people breathe for a week or two before I set the next deadline. Um, but actually I have like the next 2 years of kind of CEO dream, each 6 months. I think things that we're excited about are more and more connectivity between the international business and the fulfillment business. Um, the reason we acquired Shopify Logistics, we feel like 1+1 = 2.5 or maybe even 3, that we, uh, there's fulfillment's a competitive market, tough market, a lot of good companies actually in that space. I would argue more good tech companies in fulfillment than in international freight forwarding. But we have this benefit of we know the inbound flow. We see the orders coming in, being able to present that, ultimately make that available to allow customers to buy goods that are on the container instead of being out of stock, ship off the container. So we're gonna do everything we can to ship that this summer. I can't promise it. The team is scoping it right now and gonna grind hard to get that done. We want to be able to do fulfillment in more markets, so that's a possibility to launch something into more geographies, different countries. We are working on in we have Flexport Capital provides inventory financing for our customers. And today, we don't offer better rates if we have the goods in our possession in our fulfillment centers, but we should. We should be able to do that. So we're working hard with the capital markets providers that we work with to get a discounted rate. If I have the merchandise, it's less risky. You know, if the company goes bankrupt, I have the merchandise. So that should let us lower our interest rates and be able to provide some good, better sources of capital for people. So that's something we want to launch. And then sky's the limit on AI. I think one of the interesting things about AI is very hard to do tops down because it's so new that the CEO doesn't know all the best use cases. Like our hackathons are so inspiring now because it's like bottoms up, let people figure it out. You don't know it's going to work. So we're trying to create space for people to surprise us, surprise ourselves. And so we'll see. I think we're going to launch some cool stuff, but I can't predict it all right now.
Well, hey, maybe we'll see the handle change to surprise fast coming up then. Ryan, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and of course educating our audience and hopefully shippers as well watching who are just as uncertain trying to figure out this landscape. So thank you so much for all your expertise and excited to see what comes down the next 6 months.
My pleasure. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to talk about what's new from Flexport. And yeah, love to hear from folks. My email is just ryan@flexport.com. So if you're a Flexport customer, love to hear from you, get feedback. If anything that you see that we need to build, fix, or improve, we are trying to be a learning company that's always getting better. So I'd love to hear from you.
Love that. Thank you so much. Then thank you to our audience.